Our final demonstration involves the isotope progression, and we will use that progression to discuss improvisation with different scalar patterns. With a faster harmonic rhythm coupled with unusual chord progression, the isotope progression is more challenging to negotiate during improvisation. But with various scalar patterns, such as 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to use these numbers to refer to specific members of the underlying harmony. So 1, 2, 3, 4 refers to root, second note, third, and 5, or any kind of combinations of four notes. 1, 3, 4, 5, or famous John Coltrane solo on giant step. I mean, it's entirely based on scalar improvisation, pattern improvisation. And with these patterns, we can clearly delineate the underlying harmonies and engage in a highly idiomatic playing, which is similar to what actually John Coltrane did in the 50s, in the late 50s and early 60s. On the screen, you can see the use of 1, 2, 3, 5 scalar patterns and isotope progression. When I play that line, even without the bass line, you can clearly hear the underlying progression. And again, we're dealing with much faster harmonic rhythm and much more intricate chord progression. So let me play that line without a bass line. Let's play with the metronome, so we can retain the same, groove, and listen to these patterns and try to hear the underlying chord progression. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now let me play it with the chords. And again, I just played 4 quarter notes in the case of single harmony and 8 notes in the case of 2 harmonies per bar. In the case of suspended chords, I used 1, 2, 4, 5 in order to avoid the third, right? Now, on the next screen, you can see the use of 1, 2, 3, 5 pattern along with different permutations. So what we're going to do, we're going to treat them in the same way we treated our chord arpeggiation in earlier lecture. We're going to utilize and exploit different permutations of that pattern. So here is our original pattern, 1, 2, 3, 5. So we can kind of reshuffle these notes and play them. So you have as many as 6 different permutations, right? So the next thing, what you can do, instead of starting on the root, you can start on the second note, start on the third, and start on the fifth. And again, we will need all these configurations in order to make a much stronger connection between individual chords. So now on the next screen, you can see the realization of the chord progression with a much better voice leading connectivity between chords. So I kind of showed with different colors the connection between individual chords. And as you can notice, the motion between chords are utilized by stepwise motion. So if you start on scale degree 1, we move to the second note, and then 1, see, it sounds completely different, but again, it doesn't sound like a pattern or like a sequence, which is so obvious when you play. But now I'm very mindful of the way I connect chords and try to utilize these important voice reading connections. As you can notice, the main action is across the bar lines, or in the case of 2 chords per measure, between beats end of 2 and 3, right? And you can add, rhythmic octave displacements. For saxophone players, that's something that saxophone players love to do, and create a more kind of jagged contour. And as was the case with 5-part chords and 4-part chords, we can experiment with different positions. Instead of starting on 1, 2, 3, 5, we can start on 5 with different directions, or altogether we can change to a different pattern, right? 1, 3, 4, 5, or be a little bit more daring, or something. So there are endless possibilities, but again, the most important thing is to be in control of what you're doing and connect with your ears.